My name is Chris Claremont. You're watching Omni X-Men.
Yeah, you don't need to say anything more, Chris. You can be quiet now. You can take a bench. You've done the hard work. You've done the important things. And we get to read your comics now. This is Omni X-Men. That means it's Tuesday. And that means I'm hanging out with Justin.
When do we get Jubilee, John?
It's going to be a while. You got it. We're going to need like 6 more Omnis before that actually happens.
Damn. Well, all right. I'm all right. We can dive into this one then. I am, I'm pumped. And hey, I grabbed my physical copy. So there you go.
Oh, I got mine. They're sitting behind me here. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
And our guest, he read his, and he brought a guest as well. Let's see what we got here. It's Scott. What's up?
Snicked. Yes, I also analogued it. So
very nice. Very nice.
Look at this.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know Scott, his YouTube channel, Student of Comics, is linked down below. His Instagram is there as well. I first met Scott, I think, in Jen and Mars's chats where I accidentally dropped the hammer on him.
Got banned.
Just because I got fat fingers.
I said too many nice things about Rick Remender.
No, you probably said something nice about Scott Snyder. That's probably what got the hammer dropped on you.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. Sure, that was it.
Scott, it is great to have you here.
Yeah.
I've hung out with you, obviously, with Comic Gories, but I think this is your first Omni X-Men, isn't it?
Indeed. Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
So no stress, no running around, no having to do anything, just talk comics.
One book. Don't have to go find it. Just talk about it. The one book that I definitely read.
Yay! So for those that don't know, this is the weekly show where Justin and we dive into our omnibus for the Claremont run of Uncanny X-Men. We're on season 3. We've done 2 of these omnis. We're about halfway through the 3rd omnibus now. If you've never seen the show before, welcome. Consider subscribing and then clicking the link on Justin's channel down below to subscribe to his channel, because we alternate back and forth between the shows. So next week when we read issue 169, we're over on Justin's channel, so you don't want to miss out on the follow-up. We also finish each episode by asking some trivia questions. We're not necessarily just looking for correct answers. We're also looking for funny answers. And if you make Scott laugh the most, you're going to get entry tickets to get in our giveaway. When we finish this omnibus, we give a ton of stuff away. So make sure you hang out and try your best to have some fun shenanigans in the chat when we get to our trivia questions from last week's show and last week's issue. All right.
Oh, yes.
Let's say hello to some folks in the chat. We got Kevin from Entropy and Comics Tailgating.
What's up, Kevin?
What's going on? That was at 12:30 my time. So that was about 6 hours ago.
Early bird,
Kevin.
Wow.
Nice.
We got John, Big Daddy Ross. What is going on? Good to see you, John.
What's up, John?
Daryl says, let's trigger some. No, wrong. That's no. We're not in Morbius's chat. I mean, I probably trigger people, but no. The X-Men. Wow. Hey, now he is. I see some triggering.
Whoa.
Dang.
What is going on, Candace? We're gonna have Candace here in a few weeks. I think maybe at the beginning of March somewhere. So good to see you, Candace. I hope you're doing well. Magic Lasso in the chat. We have missed you, Ryan. Good to see you, sir. He says hello to Rachel Dinners and Diana Ross in the chat. He says Cyclops asked Gene once, "How do you spell Hawaii?" Gene said, "With 2 eyes, Scott." And he says, "My life is a joke to you, isn't it?" Mean. That's just mean.
We
got Gary B, the casual comic guy.
What's up, Gary?
This chat where he was interviewing John Douglas, and it was going really, really well. Lots of great books over there on the 10-1-1. I hope you're doing well, Gary.
Nice.
Let's see who else we got here in the chat. Happy Eileen's, everyone.
Eileen's.
You. Yes, spelling matters when you answer trivia. That's not how you spell aliens. X-Men versus Aliens is on the docket for tonight. What is up, Murdoch? Good to see you, sir.
Murdoch.
We got Paul, Big O. What is going on? Hope you're doing well.
Nice.
We were just talking about this lady.
I know her.
I have missed you, Jen. I have missed you. And when you and Mars were talking, I was doing my grocery shopping as things are meant to be on a Sunday. I thank you, girl. I'm glad you're back. I hope you're doing well. And that is it for now. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. For this season, we've been starting off the shows a little different. We want to spend the time getting to know Scott. And Justin, do you have a question to get things going here for him?
Yeah, so Scott, I'm just gonna start it off with, I guess, the straightforward, because I'm very curious what your answer is. But who is your favorite mutant, or what's your favorite mutant that comes to mind?
My favorite mutant. That is a great question. So my favorite X book for a while when I was younger was Generation X. And I don't know if he was actually my favorite, but I just always thought Chamber was just like the weirdest looking
Right?
and coolest concept of a mutant.
I'm not familiar with Chamber.
Yeah,
I'll have to look him up.
he basically blew his face off.
He's made for foil covers. Like he's got that 90s
totally.
because the flames coming out of his chest mouth cavity
Oh, nice.
are like so fun. And when you get
he
like those
blew his jaw off with his abilities, his like
Yeah.
psionic
It's
whatever
buck
abilities,
wild.
and he looks crazy.
It looks so cool.
Oh, I'm looking him up. Wow. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, it's nuts. So I mean, maybe him. I mean, look, I'm a basic bitch, so I like Wolverine. I'm not gonna lie.
Can't go wrong.
All of them. I like all of the Wolverine.
But Chamber's a good, like off the beaten path, underrated pick.
And then I think for the era we're talking about, Nightcrawler definitely has a special place in my heart because he's just he's cool.
Nice. Yeah. Very nice.
Okay, then if you were gonna pick one mutant power for yourself, if there was a mutant whose power you could adopt, who would it be?
That's a good boy. I mean, honestly, I think I would just be Jean minus all of the trauma and like getting possessed by a just basic telekinesis.
Cut the
sounds
Phoenix
great to
stuff
me.
out. Just the Omega telepath.
Just that telepath telekinesis combo.
Nice.
I'm good with that.
Love it.
Healing factor though would be good as I'm aging. I think a healing factor is probably. I should say that.
Don't wake up sore just from sleeping.
Yeah. When I was getting this guy, I pulled the box out of the garage and then I kind of almost dropped it on my foot, and then I also kind of like my back was kind of like and so.
I mean, I sneezed and had to go to the chiropractor. It was bad.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it goes.
Imagine Scott just shows up in a sling and it's just all like interaction. Right? We're like, Scott.
Yeah, I really should not have picked telepathy. That did not work out well.
Mistake.
What's going on, Tylox? Oops, sorry. Where is Tylox? There he is. Tylox, what's going on? Good to see you, sir. Hope you're doing well. Justin, you want to do one more? We went pretty quick through the quick two.
Yeah. Another one. What's your favorite story arc, just overall, for when it comes to X-Men and mutants or stories around mutants?
I'm a bit of a like I would call it a fair weather X-Men fan. So I'm like in and out. Like when it gets too much, I'm out.
Sure.
We were talking about it backstage a little bit. Again, these are all kind of more tertiary, but that Demon Bear story is just so cool.
From New Mutants.
From New Mutants, yeah. And then I think it's actually probably bad, but because I was really getting into the X-Men and especially Joe Madureira at the time, that Phalanx Covenant was like kind of cool. But that was
like late 90s, right?
Yeah. That was like prime for me. Like, X-Men, everything X-Men, and like every other book was that. Like the way people talk about Batman now, I'm like, I remember the days when that was
the Phalanx had
the X books. Like there was all these X books, and there was just like every X book had the crossover, and there plus they're like a Wolverine book. Wolverine was in every book. Yeah. And then I mean, same era, but like some of those Age of Apocalypse ones are actually pretty good. Some of those minis are actually pretty fun. Maybe just for 13-year-old me, but
you commit when reading Age of Apocalypse. It is a ton of reading. It rewards you, but it's a lot. Like I ended up collecting the collected editions for Age of Apocalypse and reading them that way. And it was a time, it was consuming.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I read like the first issue, and I remember questioning if I even started on the right issue. That's how lost.
Because there were a lot of setup stories to lead into it, so it's not an easy just jump in.
Yeah, I was lost.
No.
What is up, JD Raging Cajun? What is going on?
JD.
All the X books now, you mean? Thanks, JD. Get this guy out of here.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Rapid fire with Scott. Learned a little bit about his X-Men love. And again, the links for his information is all down below. We're going to dive into the slideshow because tonight we're talking one of my favorite books. And I'm so glad it held up as well as it did. We're talking about issue 166 from February 1983. Justin, let's talk about this cover.
Yeah, so I feel like this is something where I would normally say it's very busy. I mean, I guess it is really busy in a way, but with the green background, and then Colossus being Colossus and just, the silver plated and all this stuff, like he really stands out. So I feel like it's still very clear, everything that's going on. So in that regard, I feel like it's not loud. Overall, I really enjoy. I would like it because it's very accurate to the story. It's very accurate to what we go through here. And again, another cover that I think if I saw this on the shelf, buying it for the first time, this would definitely make me curious and want to read more. Plus, we're getting the whole team. We're even getting Lilandra getting in there with like a lightsaber,
right?
Sign me up for all that stuff. So it looks very epic for sure.
What about you, Scott? What do you think of this cover?
I mean, it's great. This is Paul Smith. I was going to say too, like among my favorite X-Men artists, Paul Smith, I think, especially this era, I think, and I know, Burns are there, but like of this era, I think this is the guy I like the most is Paul Smith. Like this is one of my favorites, but this is great. Just compositionally. I mean, you got the triangle, right? Just like every other Mike Mignola cover, you got this nice triangle here. But it works, and then I think that green background, like you're saying, it like lets all of these bright, warm colors just pop off,
right?
But yeah, I would definitely have scrambled to beg my parents to let me buy this at Kmart off the spinner rack.
It looks like a lot of people agree with you guys. You got Murdoch and Raging Cajun agreeing with that. Lasso saying, I got a problem with it. The big problem is that there's no binary on this cover, and it looks like issue 160. Actually, we had people commenting that it reminded them of 129, the first Emma Frost and Kitty Pryde. That's right. And I will save at the end of the show, I've got a side-by-side kind of comparison. You can get a look, but there is definitely some similarities. For me, it's all about Colossus. I think he is absolutely dominating the center here. The pose is great. The artwork is great. The Brood biting on his fist. He's got it around the neck. I love it. I love Wolverine's shirtless. He's getting bit. So many cool things here. Absolutely love this cover. So this one definitely is I would buy this. What is up, Shop for Comics? Good to see you, sir. Oh, and Shop. I don't know if anybody else has done this. I might be the first one to do this. Where am I at here? Thank you for turning me into Dr. Doom. There I am as an overlay. I can put this on any show I ever want. Shop made this version of me as Dr. Doom. So huge shout out to you, sir. I've overlaid it on my show anytime I want. I can bring John Doom in anytime I want now. So this is
it looks like you're hanging on to the X-Men sign too.
No, I'm going, curse you all. That's me complaining about JP complaining.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So there you go, Shop. Thank you, sir, for including me in your comic book community villains crew. We're going to take those heroes now. All right. So let's continue on. This is a double-sized issue. Thankfully, we're not doing a show after this tonight.
Yeah.
First up, we got happy aliens. We got happy aliens. They're living life. This is the home world of the Brood. Yeah, they're enslaving space fish, but who cares? They're living the dream. They're getting high. Everything's going great. The world is just happy as can be. Justin, were you surprised when you opened the book up and you're like, what the heck is this?
Yeah. I was like, where's the beautiful splash page? Like the main,
John promised me.
Yeah, right. Like, I'm like, everybody's, so hyped about this artist and everything we've gotten so far through this series has gotten these amazing splash pages. And we opened to this, and I was like, "Am I missing a page? Did it rip out of the omnibus at first, or what happened?" So, I got to admit, I was a little concerned. I was like, "Is this, this is it? We're just."
Do we like the Brood now?
Yeah. I mean,
right. What about you, Scott? When you're dived into this, you're like, what in the world?
They're just living their life. I was also, the Claremontian exposition dump of just like words.
Yes.
And as a Bendis fan, I'm cool with words, but like,
or a Hickman fan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I was like, oh, this is definitely of its time, but also like solid, like setting the scene. Like this is also like I'm in the middle of a however long. This is when like arcs were like, who knows? Whenever it's over, it's over.
Right.
Especially with Claremont. But you understand where you are immediately, which is nice. Yeah.
Which we've kind of never seen the Brood homeworld. We've never really understood kind of what's going on with them or their relationship with the Akanti spaceship fish and kind of that system.
Mm-hmm.
So this was kind of like informational. If you'd been reading all the way along, it was kind of like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But as a starter, it was I was definitely curious. But obviously it leads us to let's kill them all. Let's kill you. You're all dying. I'm just gonna kill you all right now. Instantly we go from shiny happy aliens to no, we're gonna burn this mother down. I'm gonna fly through here. Binary's just like, I look at her. The look on her face isn't even like distressed or angry. She's just like you're dead, and you're dead now, and you're dead now too.
Yep.
Justin, did this live up to my hype?
Yes, absolutely. This totally paid off because, like I said, like a bit concerned with what I was expecting on that first page. So this was well worth the the 1 page wait or whatever. But yeah, just to see this go down the way it did, and to know how when we last left off, where Binary, unfortunately the way she left
trying to kill everybody.
But to know how almost blindly angry, that she was and wanting to go after the Brood. So yeah, beautiful splash page. Even just like seeing it, on the omnibus or in the omnibus, like
sorry, you want me to heal him?
Just across like that, just
because this is a spread page, right? Not a splash page. Thanks to I got issues for kind of explaining the difference between.
I always think of him. Yeah.
A splash page is usually one side of the book. Spread page obviously goes across both. What is up, Super Russ 9000?
What's up, Russ?
Yeah, but a great spread page, just absolutely buck wild. Scott, did you remember this page? Was it like a fun like, oh, I forgot about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I had read this, but I definitely forgot. And so when this hit, I was like, yes, Paul Smith, there he is doing his thing. I'm really curious about. I'm really into process stuff, and like I like seeing like the script and then like what the artist does with the script is always fascinating because a comic book script is really like the writer talking to the artist. It's not really like a set thing always. And I'm wondering, like, was it just like go crazy, like recap, like, what was it? Like, it could just be like a little suggestion. And then Paul Smith is just like, yeah, let's just tear up this planet.
I don't recall Byrne or Cockrum doing a ton of spread pages. They did splash pages to start off a lot of the issues, which they didn't do on this one, right? This issue started with a bunch of different Brood drawings. And then all of a sudden we get the spread page instead. This seems way like an upgrade.
Yeah, that's a good. That actually makes me wonder about sort of the history of spread pages. Spread pages, because I can think of like Commandy, maybe predated this. I think there's a big spread. I think there's a spread in Commandy that's maybe like, but I can't. They weren't as common until 70s, 80s. That's when we started seeing them. But yeah, and this one, great. I mean, Carol. I wonder if we'll ever. We had, if anybody's reading the current Captain Marvel, like Binary shows up recently, and it's kind of cool, but she shows up in a weird way because it's like she's Carol obviously, but Carol makes a duplicate of herself that like has no awareness. It's wild stuff. But that took me back to this era when I saw that in the recent issues. Was like, oh yeah, Binary, that monster, like not monster, but like brutal, like destroyer. Yeah.
Daryl says in some of his early issues, maybe he did do some spreads. I got to go back and look through those then.
Yeah.
Because I know for a while now, the pattern Justin and I would joke about is got to start with that splash page, that first page, and then you get a bunch of exposition pages, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get going now. So she's destroying the Brood. I love how we get more. Like that wasn't enough.
Right.
The next page has almost no Claremont writing. It's like, no, blow this up, burn this down, kill these guys, blow up your ships. And then we get the emotional section where she flies over and sees one of the space fish and communicates with it in a way that starts to understand what is going on. the idea that when the Brood take over these Akanti space fish to use them as their way to travel through deep space, there's no way for them to be redeemed, right? The space fish, the Akanti, either die or they live a life of servitude like this. And so she can't set it free. The only choice is to put it out of its misery, which of course she does.
Brutal.
That hits really hard, right, Scott? Like
Yeah.
this was like, I didn't expect that emotional punch, right?
No, I didn't. I was like, what? Oh my God. This, like page 5, I'm in my feels already.
Right.
Like it's not that deep into the book yet.
No, right?
But yeah, that was huge.
Justin, what are your thoughts on the relationship between the Brood and the Akanti? And this is sort of the first expansion of that understanding.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that this was definitely important to just understanding how this alien species works, even with this the communication style and how she was able to do it through song. And then, yeah, you end up getting these emotions just based on, it's only a couple panels, you know, and yet you feel it. And still at the same time, you're still questioning, you know, where is it going from here? You know, was this anyone significant, this alien Akanti, so on and so forth. One thing I wanted to point out too, even just on these first set of pictures here, panels, is the coloring.
Yes.
Really love the usage. I know we always like, you know, we like to highlight this or point this out with the different anything that has to do with when light hits, you know, and there's certain shading, you know, unique colors that are used that are developed because it's dark otherwise, like that first one next to you, John, like the shadows in that first one, the dark
the use of the
everything.
blue.
Yeah. Like from that and then going into the pinks and the oranges, like always appreciate and look forward to that stuff, especially in this era. We get a lot of it, I've noticed.
Totally.
And so yeah, really cool there. And then I love that close-up of Binary's face on the other side.
The tears.
Yeah.
Even when your head is a
Instagram.
giant fiery afro, you still can shed tears.
Yeah.
Can I say too? Oh, I was gonna say with the color that you this looks amazing. And this is why like I was recently reading some of the like Walt Simonson Thor stuff on Marvel Unlimited. But it's like the recolored version, and it's like they start putting more gradients in, but like you were saying, like this is beautiful. Like they're using these flat colors for the most part, and they just are so effective. And I just really hate when they kind of like mess with that, because it's like, and it's not just because of the nostalgia for the era, but it's like for the era they were doing what worked with what they had, and it keeps working. You have to keep it. You can't just throw digital color on this.
I didn't know that was even a thing. That's like that's like when the Turner Classic Movie Channel would colorize movies,
oh yeah, right?
Well, it's not acceptable.
No, not cool.
Leave it comments alone. From William Bird, who says this was his first issue bought off the rack instead of getting it from a friend. He loves it, by far his favorite X-Men lineup.
Nice.
You paid $1 and you could have paid 60 cents. That was impressive.
We got Lasso saying, was it brutal or was it brood?
Nice.
And then we got our guy Chet Scotland in the chat.
What's up, Chet?
I don't know who Dr. Shroom is, but are you talking about John Doom? What is going on? Oh, curse you all. Sorry. I'm going to use this a lot. Just I want you all to know. Just be ready. This is going to be the new thing.
I love it.
All right. Should we keep going on here? Should we continue?
Let's do it.
All right. So the next page, we see Storm floating in space. And she's like, wait, how does that? You can't breathe. What's going on here? And then she's like, no, but I'm a fish now. You're a fish? I'm a fish. Yeah, I've bonded with this baby Akanti fish, and it's housing the shell of my body while I am able to control its consciousness now and travel through space, saving the X-Men and hopefully leading an assault on the brood who've taken over my species. There's a lot of exposition happening here. We're finally understanding what's happened to Storm, who sort of died and sort of didn't. Justin, how did this explanation work for you?
Yeah, so I have to say I definitely had to reread this a couple times just to make sure I understood everything correctly, because I mean some of it is over the top and which is we've been getting with Claremont and X-Men and comics in general.
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure I understood all of it. Hey, what's up, our chemist? Yeah, so right off the bat, I love that first panel right up near your head, John.
Yeah, where she's floating and kind of calling
binary. She like flies right by. You could almost picture like she's just on her mission, and then she just sees Storm.
She's got to kill more brood. She's killing the brood.
Even the cape, Storm's cape is like flowing after her flying by.
In the void of space, it still has. It
still takes wind. So I like that. Interesting that we do get the explanation. This is more of an astral projection of her, and not her actual body. And then as we see on the other pages to see that's actually where Storm is right now. And then we get a little bit of of an explanation, or we go as we head into this other Akanti, this baby Akanti, which I'll wait till we get into. But again, love the space designs in the background, and even going into the Akanti's mouth there on the far end there, the purples and pinks and stuff like that, and just seeing kind of like you're in the spaceship in a way, looking outward. Only that's a mouth that you're in technically,
right?
So it's cool how they had that angle of that.
So I don't know if Scott, I don't know if you were as confused as JP is with his typing. This Storm stuff is very weird. Understand, not sure, possible, unjust, have to go with it. I think he just had a seizure and started slapping his keyboard. Did this explanation confuse you, Scott, as much as it did JP?
I think I got it. Like for me, when I get stuff like this, I'm just gonna sort of accept what I need to and just kind of nod along with the stuff I don't totally grok, right? Because it's like
Claremont.
It pieces together later.
As someone who loves Dune. There's some of that in like this might be more bonkers than that, but like when it gets bonkers, you just gotta kind of go with it. And you're like, yeah, it's great. The space fish, yeah, she's one with the space fish. That's why she's not dead. Because if she died, that'd really be a bummer,
right? I found that GIF that says "John, you're a fish," and I was like, I have to use this now. Like I don't even know where this came from, but John, you're a fish, and he's like, because she's a fish. She is not like she and the fish have like bonded and connected in some strange way. It's abstract, it's Star Trek-ian, but you just kind of got to go with it, right?
I just realized that the gift says John first. I didn't catch that first part. That's even better.
And then he just goes
I'm glad you mentioned Star Trek. I flagged the Star Trek thing later, but this is very Star Trek.
Yes.
I think the last omnibus and this one, we've referenced a ton of how Star Trek has influenced Claremont and what he wanted to tell with these outer space stories. I think there's a ton of those relationships that I think are very interesting. And I think as a Trekkie, I'm growing a new understanding of why some of these Claremont things connected to me, because I love Star Trek, and I think he did too, and it just plays out,
Yeah, if you took the X-Men out of this could be like a Star Trek spec script.
Absolutely.
McCoy's stuck in there or whatever. Like
Spock clearly has become a fish.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. Kirk has gone crazy and destroyed the Klingons in anger with his giant
Star Trek 7. Star Trek 7.
Or maybe it's Uhura. I don't know.
I love it.
All right. So moving on, we go inside, and now we can have a discussion. Now everybody can learn. Carol's there. Her hair is amazing. Everybody's talking and making jokes. Kitty Pryde very upset. She's like, "What is wrong with you guys? We're all gonna be dead. Like we've got like eggs brewing inside of us. We're gonna die and turn into broodlings. This is not a time for comedy." And then Wolverine's like, "Yeah, but when we're all gonna die anyways, like let's go out laughing." And then Storm's like, "Well, let me tell you a story. I'm going to tell you all about how the Akanti have been enslaved by the brood. One of the original Akanti, they call the Prophet Singer, was the leader of their tribe and was enslaved and then sort of died on their planet, and its soul is trapped inside of its body. And until the soul is set free, another Akanti cannot rise up and become the leader of the tribe. So these space fish are basically left aimless and are then very easy prey for the brood to take over to use as future ships. They are using the hostage of the soul that they're keeping as a piece to keep them in power. And Storm's plan is, we need to set the soul of the Akanti free, and it might be the only redeeming thing we can do before most of y'all die. She's like, you guys, You guys are gonna die. Wolverine seems like he's gonna be okay. Binary's gonna be good. I'm probably gonna be a Conti in the future, but the rest of you, sorry, but it'll be worth it.
TS.
Is that how you took it, Justin?
Yeah, exactly. Nailed it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, this was wild. This was the other page that I had to reread, and I'm pretty sure I reread it like 3 times in my first sitting, just to really get a sinking in of, because it's a lot of backstory. It's a lot on the one page. I do like how it's laid out. Yeah, exactly.
This is the scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark when he's drawing on the chalkboard and explaining everything that's going to be important later in the movie.
Be ready. Yeah. So between that page and the next one that we'll get to, like I had to really take some time and reread it. Again, partially just it is, very outlandish, but also just wanted to make sure I was on the right page with understanding everything. Random costumes. But at the same time, I do appreciate and was very intrigued to get a full understanding of this because of the fact that we've been, the Uncanny have been introduced here and there, talked a little bit about how the Brood use them as a ship and why would they even select them in the first place. Now we understand that they have this ability to, the speed of light that they can travel.
The speed at which they can. The reason why the Brood use them is because of how quickly they can travel, and they don't have to build a ship. You just steal one.
Take one, So
messed up.
It all like made sense, but yeah, totally, and very very dark in that regard. But so I appreciate these panels. It did take a little time to really hash it out.
Well, that's because the first time through, you're looking at that amazing yellow storm floating head right in the middle of that second page. Pow!
Yep.
Yes.
Scott, what did you think of the layouts here and the design of this backstory? Because obviously, as JP is noting, there's no word bubbles on these pages at all.
Yeah. 2 things I was thinking about. Like, first, and I'm not trying to be like, back in my day, they made comics like this, but there's a lot of stuff in here that is just very of its time, but like in like the best way of its time. And that first panel, it's all the characters and you can see all of them and you know who they are. So like you're coming in and you're like, again, if like, forgive me, whoever it was, I was like, this is the first one I picked off the rack.
Wasn't it William or was it?
Yeah, it was William. Was it you?
William. Yeah. He's even commenting on how you can see how short Wolverine is.
Exactly.
He's the same height as Kitty.
So you like pick this up, you're 10 years old, you pick this up, you're like, what are the X-Men even? And you, first of all, the covers were awesome, but then you see this first panel, and you're like, oh, that's who everybody is. Cool. I know now. I got it. I figured it out. And even like the designs are so good, obviously, that you can like tell if you don't know who Nightcrawler is, it's like, it's probably not the big Russian dude. It might be the guy in the orange.
Cyclops is probably the guy with just one eye that I can see.
That's probably that guy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like it makes sense. But yeah, like that's just as an establishing shot. And then, the way that Paul Smith is like making room for these wall of text, which that was this other thing I was going to say is like, I was recently watching a video of Alan Moore talking about the 210 words per page sort of rule of thumb that like Mort Weinsinger actually, it was his idea. And I'm like, well, I don't think Claremont like shares that view of, because I didn't count all these words, but there's more than 210.
I think we got over that number. That was that would be a low count.
And it's not a rule, it's just an approach. But like, the way that Paul is able to kind of balance all of that, like that's kind of an invisible skill of these artists is like,
because you think about the negative space in each of those drawings on this set of this page right here, just you fill that in, you put in whatever you want there. The drawing doesn't have the word bubbles or any of that stuff. It's just going to be that. Right, with the blank space, and then the letterer gets to come in later and try to fit all that stuff in.
Exactly, yeah. Like that's go with God.
How small can I make that font?
And that page with Storm in the center, like if it were done today, I feel like I think of Hickman you brought up earlier. You get those pages, those one page where it's literally like a novel type paragraph or page, typed out as just info dump or telling the story. This is kind of like, I feel like the version of that from then.
You'd get a Hickman graphic page with
kind of, and then you just
what are the Uncanny and how do they work?
Yeah, you get some weird things connecting and
there'd be circle diagrams.
Yes, yeah. So it's always been done, and it's still being done, at least for certain writers. So.
Right.
But it works.
JP says the letterer earned his paycheck.
Absolutely. So I don't. I don't know if you want to do this now, but this is where the first ad break that I wanted to talk about was. But if you want to like finish Storm's thing.
Scott was really awesome about basically pulling the original ads in the book to share some of the nostalgia feel here. So I'm going to quickly go over to his share here.
So
this is the first ad he's got for us.
So this one, I'll just do this quickly, but I'm reading this and we get Storm Space.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Museum Snakes.
Yeah, by Museum Snakes, this Magic Snake Puzzle. So this is an ad from this comic from 1983, and just like, first of all, we had ads that were comics that were drawn by who drew this even? I don't even know if it's credited.
Do they sign off?
Yeah, I don't know if they do. They just like I can't tell who this would be. It's like somebody pretending to be
test
Ditko.
driving guys.
Yeah.
So that will come later.
I can see that. Yeah.
But it's it's an ad for this magic snake puzzle, and basically the premise of this is like Spider-Man leaves the puzzle in the museum, and then the crooks show up, and they just can't resist solving the puzzle. And then right here, this panel 4 hours later, and the guys are like, hurry, boss, it's getting late. Yeah, I see what you mean, boss. I'm hooked too. Like they can't not do the puzzle. And then flip. So, but basically, what, like, in a way, this is what TikTok was or is now, right? It's like,
this is the original TikTok.
This is TikTok before TikTok. It's like, hey, check out this awesome thing. I'm important because I'm, Spider-Man or whoever.
Well, it's funny because I remember like a year or so ago, there were a bunch of DC ads that were done in a similar style where they were drawn, and it was like a Snickers ad. And you would turn the page in your Tom King book where it's like, this is getting really dark and heavy. And then there's a Snicker ad, and you're like, wait, is this part of the book or not? What are the Teen Titans doing here? What happened to the Suicide Squad? I don't understand. But it was very like you had to remind yourself, nope, that's commercial. That was commercial.
So that's the first one. So we'll get to the next one. The other ad on the page turn would have been like, it was a bunch of like conventions and different stores,
like prices of books at their shops.
No, I like the convention ones because they put like the dates and the locations, and you just wonder like oh, who went to those? Like
I could have gone there and gotten an extra one for $45.
Right.
Yeah, I know those. All right. So moving along here, Storm's journey continues. She wants to tell what happened to her, how she came across an Akanti giving birth, and the baby was not strong enough on its own. It needed assistance. So Storm, in her like last moments, basically made a connection through her abilities to connect with nature, connected with this baby Akanti, and the two of them basically spiritually joined, where her body could be shielded and cared for by the baby Akanti, and she could control its mind and give it the ability to think that it couldn't do for itself, being so young. Then she explains all this to the X-Men and says, we need to go set that soul of the Akanti free. And the X-Men are like, okay, let's come up with a plan. Justin, I like this page right here.
Yeah, fantastic.
This is the Paul Smith one you'd want to get.
Oh my God, come on, right? Yeah. You had the yellow Storm head, and you're like, that was pretty cool. And then you turn the page, and you're like, okay, this is cooler. This is cool.
Yeah,
love the close up. It's a cool view, and just the artwork around her head, just kind of representing her thoughts, and as she draws out the explanation of this story that she's sharing. I think it's really, really cool, really well done. And like I said, another page where I kind of had to reread it a couple times just to get the understanding, but cool to hear or to get the understanding that she takes over the awareness, the awareness and the conscious direction, I guess is what she kind of describes, of this alien, this baby Akanti. So just going on with learning more history of kind of how this goes, and then it gives the team direction. What do we have to do now? All right, great. Let's all work together. I like Cyclops there with his giving the
that figure is really coming towards us.
Foreshortening.
Yeah. He has some funny like gestures throughout this book, so I'm sure we'll get to more later. But
Scott, any thoughts here on this breakdown of what's going on with Storm and then the plan they're making?
The only thing for this, I think this is where, so I was like reading this at my kitchen table, and I was taking notes, and I got up and like went to get a drink, and then I was explaining it to my wife, like what was happening in the book. she's like, "Oh, so like you finished it?" And I was like, "Oh no, I'm not even halfway through this."
No, we're
She's
still
like,
at the
"Whoa."
exposition dump.
Yeah,
at the
just
beginning.
like because I was like,
This is
"Yeah,
a
there's
double-sized
space whales, and this
issue.
is happening."
It
and
could
then-
be a comic of its own. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
a mini series of its own, maybe.
Yeah, I agree, Chet. The Akanti are a great visual tool, and I think that Smith is using them beautifully in this issue. I love the outer space stuff personally, and this is partly what I think. And it's hard for me to remember when I read this issue, but I do know I read this issue quite young. And the Brood story I read when I was pretty young, it was like one of the first things I went back and found and read. And I don't know if that was through classic X-Men or what, but I know that this had a huge impact and impression on me, which is probably where the love of Storm comes from. Floating naked in space, being saved by the giant space fish.
Whoa,
left
hey.
an impression.
By the way, great usage of GIFs there, all three.
I'm trying.
Yeah, those
I'm
are
trying.
well
I this is a double-sized issue.
Anytime you can get some Hamilton in there,
I knew you would appreciate that. I knew you would appreciate that.
I got to do better.
Well, on to the next page. More finger pointing. This time, Wolverine and Cyclops are finally having it out. It's finally an argument where the two of them are like, no, this is what's going down. Wolverine's been keeping secrets all along till most recently. He's been talking about how maybe they need to be killed. Do I need to kill them before they turn into Brood? And this is where it really is playing out. Wolverine is saying, I can't trust you guys to go down there onto this planet to free the soul of the Akanti because you guys could turn into Brood any second. And Cyclops is like, then kill us right now. Just do it. And Wolverine's like, okay. Pops the claws. He's like, I'm going to do it. Kitty Pryde's like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. And she gets in the way of the two of them and is like, seriously, this is more important than your stupid grudge, more important than any of us turning into Brood. Like, we've got to get this job done. So Binary and Storm are going to kind of lead an assault on the Brood. The rest of the X-Men and Lilandra are going to go down into the planet and try to set the soul free. What are your thoughts on this? This is pretty intense, Scott. Like, this is like an intense Wolverine Cyclops moment.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this is classic. And we find out later some of, well, I don't know. I guess we don't know if this is influenced by what we find out later. I want to like keep the surprise going, maybe. But,
on a book from like 40 years ago. I appreciate you doing that.
But yeah, it's definitely, I mean, this is classic. Like, this is, Scott and Logan, this is their relationship, heightened. You get to see it. And it's more like that classic approach of like, okay, the characters are like this, and we have to show you that every issue at least once,
right.
Type thing.
They aren't the same.
Yeah.
But they butt heads.
I really miss thought balloons. We get exposition, we get like caption boxes now,
right?
But thought balloons are like basically dead. I don't think I've seen a thought balloon in a million, or a thought bubble. That's a whole other conversation. Is it bubble or balloon or whatever? But yeah, I kind of miss them, but I love Logan here, like, thinking through if he's gonna, kill Cyclops or not.
Right. Yep. JP says, somehow Storm now has telepathic powers, but whatever. Screw you.
It's the Akanti.
It's connection to nature. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Get this guy out of our chat.
You're overthinking it. Also, space weather comes up later. So she can control the weather in the void of space too. Get out of my house. Gore Vidal in the chat.
Hey.
He says Paul Smith is great at close-ups. He knows how to handle intensity on a page. I was just about to ask you, Justin, what are your thoughts about some of the panel layouts here? Because there's some interesting stuff, especially in the bottom down there going on with the showdown.
Yep, some of my favorite stuff right there at that bottom, right next to Scott. Just as the actual sizing of the panels gets smaller and smaller, the two faces, and then Wolverine bringing out his claws, and then Kitty screaming no, like break it up, and she jumps out in front of between the two. This scene definitely reminded me of like, I don't know, just like a college frat party with two guys just arguing. There it is. Yeah, exactly. I also like going back to the gestures. I love this pose that Cyclops is standing in. I'm trying to think of the last time I I really pointed at someone that straight of an arm and finger. Yeah, like really, and turned to the side.
There's a lot of pointing
Yeah.
with Scott in this
His
issue.
chest, his chest is turned the other way. Like it's very, very intense.
Right.
So but yeah, great panels.
And I included that last GIF because I really was hoping that they would just make out at the end. Like I just was hoping that they would just start kissing, but it didn't work out. But that's the Hickman era that I'm still hoping.
Yeah, aren't they in like a throuple now?
Yes, I mean that's how I take it. That's how I read it.
Yeah.
What is up, Rod the Rican in the chat?
What's up, Brad?
Good to see you, sir. I hope you're doing well. Kitty, as always, has to be the adult when the adults are busy arguing over stupid things. That's how it works.
The 14-year-old has to intervene.
And Gore, we are booking you now, just so you know, for issue 170. Start reading. Just be ready. You're joining the Omni X-Men this season, so get ready. Buckle up. All right, so they finally agree. This is the plan. This is what we got to do. And I love the cut. Now the plan's happening. Instantly cut to the plan. This was a jump cut for me. It was like, oh my God, what's going on? Justin, I went with all Hot Shots gifts, no Top Gun, because we do have dog fighting. The Uncanny ship is like zipping through the homeland of the Brood, and they're flying over the carcass of the spirit that they're trying to release. And as they like dip along and fly along, the plan is that all the X-Men that are going onto the planet are going to beam down. They're going to teleport down, while the Uncanny, Storm, and Binary are flying and trying to lead the chase out into outer space. Am I the only one, Justin, that this was a bit of a jarring jump cut? Like, oh, now action. We're back to action now.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't pop to me the way, but I mean, I definitely see how it could. I actually think that first time around, I missed a day later because I remember questioning some of their outfits, and then I went back and saw that it was a day later. So I'm like,
it's funny too because it says day later, but then they're like all rushing to get to the teleporter.
Right.
Like, it's been a day. You guys should just be ready and waiting at the teleporter, but they're all like, oh crap, we got to get to the teleporter.
Oh, yeah. I relate to that. Getting to work in the morning.
Like, did you guys, it's been a day. You already made the plan. How are you not where you're supposed to be? Good Lord.
I also love the helmet that's shaped in
in her hair, the shape of her head, which everybody says it's her hair. As I understand, it's part of her actual head, but maybe
right. They have like a thing. Right.
It just looks like hair, which is amazing.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. That's why Professor X is so goo goo gaga.
I mean,
that hair-esque growth.
She's
the bird alien lady. Yeah, totally.
Any thoughts here on this, Scott, as they dive into their plan? Anything you wanted to mention here?
I mean, I like that it is so. I like the old adage of like start late, finish early for a scene, right? And I think this definitely like hits that. You're like, oh, we're there, boom. You know, it's not like even in the trench run in Star Wars, there's a little bit of a stepping to there. He's got to talk to Wedge and whatever, and but
no, we're not going to do any of that.
No, none of that. Just get to it. Get to the mission.
So that takes us right into the teleporter. They run in. Now we got to teleport down there. Scott says, I'm a careful man, Magistrates. I don't want any of us to be hurt. And then they teleport down, and Kitty gets to say, energize, Scotty, beam us down. And so and Scott says, wait, what did you just say? She's like, hee hee. They teleport down, and we cut over to the Brood on their home planet. And the Brood are talking to the Queen Brood. They're like, okay, our sensors have this ship flying through. We should chase after it. She's like, yes, we need to chase it down. One of them's like, yeah, but I think they just teleported down onto the planet. Like, I think they're into the catacombs. She's like, don't worry about them. That's not important. And then they're like, yeah, if we chase them down there, there's like creatures that'll eat us. It'll be bad. She's like, you have a choice. You can face their wrath or you can face mine. This I don't know how the Queen Brood got this far in life. I feel like
different.
This is the Michael Scott of aliens for me. Like, she's really not.
I think there's a point where she goes, no. So
I just found this hilarious, and it made me think of like great henchman villain relationships. Like, of course, Captain Hook here was just like, I'm just gonna shoot my guys. Sure. You're driving me crazy. I'm just gonna shoot you.
Yeah.
Justin, any thoughts here on the Brood hierarchy?
So one thing with this, and I want to make sure I understood this right. In that far panel where the Brood first are seen, they're getting a call, right? Essentially, or however you want to, however he chimes in, and basically like gives this new information, and she immediately like questions it, right? Like, I'm trying to see where it says. Oh yeah, she says, "Who speaks?" And he's like, "Oh, you don't recognize one of your own." Is this?
Mm-hmm.
Is this
It's Brood Zoom?
Right? Yeah. So, but is this one of the X-Men already, or this is just another?
Yeah.
It is, right? Okay, yeah. So this is. I assumed it was Cyclops.
It's the spy.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
spoilers.
Later we learn that some of the X-Men have started to turn, and that they are psychically connecting to the Queen through the as they are becoming Brood.
Mm-hmm.
The X-Men who are changing are able to communicate, I guess, telepathically.
Yeah.
So the reason I questioned it was because the image of him in that little circle, bubble was looked like a fully grown Brood. So I was like, I was like, is
because
this
it's just the like
Brood
it's the
general
projection in her mind,
right.
what he is.
That's just he didn't turn his camera on. That's just his zoom. Like,
it's just a little.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Totally get it.
They didn't know that they were created Zoom yet.
Right.
I will say I do like the close up down at the bottom corner too.
Her eye,
of the eye and everything. Yeah, that's really
awesome.
cool. And of course the mention of Scotty, which I'll let Scott chime in on a bit more. But
I mean,
really
just another Star Trek reference there. Like, we were mentioning it, and it's kind of funny to think of like, this is '83, so we've had all our Star Wars movie. Well, I guess Jedi came out later than this year, so we hadn't finished Star Wars yet.
No,
right?
not that first trilogy. Yeah,
not the first. So it's really like, I think the presence of Star Trek on like nerds was much larger at this time, because like there's Star Trek, and there's like that 1999 show. There's Buck Rogers, I guess. There's and like Star Trek is better than all those. And then we had Star Wars, but it wasn't done. So we're like,
right.
Well,
they'd have 2 movies compared to all the episodes of Trek and the films they've had. And
and I know Claremont, and like, I mean, Byrne's not in this, but Byrne loves Star Trek. He did like some Star Trek like books. But yeah, those references to like something that probably had even more cultural resonance at that moment.
For sure.
Yeah.
I like Kitty's giggle too there. That was great.
Yeah. Because she gets caught, but she's like, you don't know what I'm talking about. I've got a cool pop culture reference, and you don't know what it is. JB says, no, that'll be on John's channel. Gore, don't do it. JP, I'll be happy to know that chronologically, I think it ends up on Justin's channel instead of mine. So I still will not have had Gore on my channel, but I will get to be on a stream with him. So there you go.
Technically, it counts.
Gore says Star Trek TV show aired in the afternoons around 3 or 4 on weekdays. Okay. There you go. So check your local listings.
Nice.
You're making me feel so old. It's Kitty Pride.
Sorry,
it's the youthful Star Trek fan, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's continue along here. So now we are down. We're beamed down back into the rotting carcass of the Akanti Queen, and Wolverine's like, yeah, I can smell where we're going. I got this. Let's just continue on. And meanwhile, out in outer space, Binary is like, oh, these guys are trying to kill my little Storm baby. I'm going to burn your ass. She just torches these guys.
Crushes them.
I love that Binary just like zips in, and they're like, we're about to get it. Oh, crap. And then they just get absolutely the floor mopped with these guys. Justin, how are you feeling about these two? It's very, I mean, I know that Scott mentioned Return of the Jedi, but it's very much like we have the people on Endor with their mission, and then the people in outer space attacking the Death Star. You got 2 stories going on here.
It's true. Yeah. I like the split up, and these panels are awesome. Like I love, especially Binary down at the bottom corner there, just the effects of her powers and the light around that beam, like just so awesome. Definitely stood out to me, and even the one right above her, where you just see the light at first as he's trying to scramble battle screens
on the Brood,
to maximum strength. And they think they can handle it, and clearly cannot. So, and it's also cool to see their technology too, their computers and stuff like that.
The way they're kind of the Brood have basically adapted their Akanti to be this sort of blend of nature and technology, right?
Yeah, and yet they lay on like these rounded seats.
It's like a chaise. It's like a chaise lounge.
Yeah. Lounge.
I want that for my work for me. That's comfortable.
Yeah. Scott, any thoughts here on these?
Yeah, like the tech should be weirder, maybe, right? Because they're bugs. Like, I mean, it does seem like it's they took over human tech and
Right.
made it. They're just using it. Yeah, I mean, this great again. I mean, again with the left side panel, like you see all the characters, so you're just given all these these
I
great
love the
shots of them.
layout there, the way they
Yeah.
look from down below, the lighting, the angle. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And there's
love
kind of a
that
rhythm.
drawing.
There's kind of a rhythm to like the way that first one is with the then going into the cavern and the bottom one.
Yep.
And yeah, just binary, just being brutal, just destroying people, lighting them up.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's continue along. Now you've got her destroying the different ships. She's kind of setting some of the Akanti free. Meanwhile, our X-Men are leading an assault inside, and there's all these other weird beasts attacking them, and Kitty's having to like phase through slimy tongues of things. Wolverine's just chopping everything up. Cyclops is blasting everything. Wolverine feeling like Cyclops is not acting like his normal self. There's something off with this guy. It's a little bit strange. I can't quite tell what's going on, and I really don't like this guy. I want to just beat the crap out of him. This is all
But more than normal.
Yeah, I mean, if you could say that, right? Chet says it's amazing how space cockroaches have technology. Of course, says wet legs chase lounge. JP says Claremont's my space story needs someone with Phoenix-like powers, but she's dead. I know. I'll just give Carol unlimited power, so my story will work. And I'm glad he did it too. Yeah, I think it worked out well. Justin, any thoughts here on this developing drama in space and Cyclops and Wolverine coming head to head here soon?
Yeah, really cool. More on the second page. Just like love all the action scenes, and this kind of represents the cover, right? Seeing the team together, battling it out. You got Colossus who's holding them, holding whatever this alien type thing with the fangs. It's like a half worm, half shark type thing. Really cool though, and I like how it's drawn there, and he's like barely keeping the mouth open to before it bites his head off.
Right.
Of course, we get to see Kitty doing her thing, which I think is great, and especially for these earlier issues, I could see any fan of Kitty's like just wanting to see more action,
right.
And how she uses her powers. So any chance we get to see that is cool. And I actually really like that very far bottom right hand panel there with Cyclops, the way he's like holding the one and shooting the other. Like I like how it's drawn. I think it's just really it's really well done.
And Wolverine peeking over at him.
Yeah, he's like, holy crap, like Cyclops is like killing, he's not holding back, and that's like you said, like that's the odd part that's kind of stood out to Wolverine now. They almost like reversed in a way.
More clues.
Yeah, right. Scott, do you want me to move on to the next page here where we get some reveals?
Yeah, just more thought bubbles, but yeah.
Right.
Keep moving.
Storm an egg thinking for the Akanti, right? So on the next page, we see Kitty Pryde phases through the body of the Akanti ship that they're inside of, lands in a nest of eggs. This is very alien-like here, where she's like, there's skeletons. This is creepy. Does that mean these eggs are eating people? Is this a nest for something? And as she's moving away, we see a shadow of some creature behind her lurking. Meanwhile, it seems like the Brood may have figured out a way around the binary. They zap her, they wrap her up, and they pull her in as like a tractor beam thing. And it seems like things are going to go bad until the Starjammers show up, because that's always how things get better. But is it, Justin? Does this mean more Corsair drama?
Yeah, maybe.
Any thoughts here on what's going on now that they found a solution for Carol Danvers?
Yeah, I mean, well, one, I really like the artwork here. Kitty Pryde, as she's seeing like the whatever that, like the skeleton bones are behind her or whatever. Just love that panel, just in general. Also, we get to see again more of her powers as she's floating. As she can walk on molecules or whatever it is.
Yeah,
air molecules. So that's really cool too. And then I just kind of got the vibe of what's up, Perry? Just kind of got the on your left kind of vibe with the Starjammers, coming in, and they've done this is not their first time, like the way they kind of they show up at the right moment and save the day, or at least partially save the day.
Candace is not
more Corsair.
No Corsair.
Yeah,
I want to say that I feel like I don't want to talk about like the adaptations too much, but it's unfortunate that they've already burned Kurt Russell as Ego. because I just feel like him as Corsair would be like that would just be amazing.
Could see that.
Just be amazing.
Gore says, JP, it's interesting dynamic between Logan and Scott since both are attracted to Jean upon meeting her. In a classic X-Men story written by Claremont, Jean spoke to Charles about her attraction to Logan. And JP says, oh, great. Another member of the Summers Clan. I read that with sarcasm just for you, JP. But let's get to the more exciting stuff. Wolverine's like, this is weird. This is not our Cyclops. I'm going to tackle this guy. I'm going to risk ripping his mask off only to find Brood. And then he's got now, he can like oscillate his eyes and they can each zap and they zap.
God, yeah.
And then Nightcrawler and Lilandra are going to come to the rescue. And then the Brood Queen's like, I'm going to zap you guys with my zapper. Shocking reveals and twists here, Scott. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, I mean, this is who we saw in Brood Zoom is Scott here.
Yep.
And again, maybe I just thought of this now, but like maybe there's like shades of the Arena, that episode of Star Trek where Kirk fights the Gorn. Like, it does the flying punch down that we see in Lost. I know you like Lost, John. So I do. I really do. That was a Lost that has that as well. But just straight up action.
2 heroes fighting.
Yeah, I love it. It's great. Or it could be like a mock time even, right?
And he's got those really great new eyebrows. Scott is sporting some great eyebrows. Justin, any thoughts on Scott's new look?
Yeah, I love the close-up there. Definitely creepy, scary, but it fits the bill with what's going on with him. And I do like that he's able to split the beam, and they do explain that like shortly,
and then he can actually control it, right? Like he doesn't have to just instantly blast all the time. The Brood apparently better Cyclops than Cyclops.
Brutal.
Actually I beat JP by a fraction there. Better or worse than normal Cyclops? I mean, I kind of answered that question.
The other thing to highlight is that beautiful yellow panel with Zap. I love that. Turning the page and seeing that. Yeah. Especially when I read it digitally the first time around, just, getting hit with that was really cool. Like the shadows around that.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. And a great use of color, right? You like feel that it's important because it's this hot, much lighter color with these shadows in it,
and the great line work, right? In those sequences where he's getting tackled or they're getting zapped, those great like lines out from a bright blank space.
Well, and the way he spots it's Bob Wyachek inked this, and the way he spots the blacks and like makes those silhouettes like they make sense even though they're mostly black shapes. It's beautiful.
It's the best Lilandra's ever looked.
Yep.
Wow.
All right, let's continue along here. They've been captured. It's all done. They're screwed. The Brood are hugging Cyclops now. Everything is just great. No, Kitty Pryde is still sneaking around this place. You can't blast her. You can't shoot her. She's running, but they're chasing her. She's struggling to stay incorporeal. They're swarming around on top of her. This is not looking good for our X-Men right now. This is the moment when everybody's getting captured and things are looking their worst. Justin, this is not good.
Yeah, no, not at all. Especially seeing the team laid out like that. I'm like, where's this going now at this point? How does anyone save the day? And Kitty is, she's lost. She's running for her life. And she has to figure out a way to get creative, which I know she's figured out in the past, but usually when there's more like computers around and stuff and using her abilities to shut stuff down like that. But here, I was definitely concerned with kind of what was going to happen next. It is cool though. And I like the artwork too, by the way, the one that you have, I guess, down near Scott.
This pose with Scott, this first panel with Scott kind of shirt all torn, and he's holding like basically Colossus and Wolverine up, and he's like, he looks like a boss.
Oh yeah, that one up
there. Scott, any thoughts here on the awkward relationship now that the Brood Queen seems to be having with Cyclops?
Yeah, it's just so. I mean, he's just a real. Like, I can't say the term on your channel, but you know what people know. It reminds me of his future relationship with Emma, I guess, in a way.
He just wants to be bossed around.
I just want to tell you what to do, and
he just wants to be stepped on a couple of times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, I'm just really at this point I'm anticipating the first appearance of one of the most important characters in the history of the X-Men coming up in a second here. So
there you go. Gore says he's happy to see Mr. Bean. Always happy to see Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ridley Scott directing this story arc. Sign me up.
Man.
I want more of that. Sheena.
Hey.
Good to see you, Sheena. She dropped a really funny
Sheena.
reel on Instagram today. You need to check it out if you have not seen it. Very funny. He says it makes sense that William says makes sense that the brood eyes might offer more control for Scott, like how like an octopus's eye has so much more evolved than the humans.
Yeah,
got a little biology lesson here. You don't know what you're going to get on this show. Dragons. That's what you get next.
Yeah.
Yes, we get the first appearance of Lockheed the dragon, and he's torching up some brood.
that's right. Key
absolutely
issue, people.
Yeah, I love the drawings. This is fantastic, and then the reveal that he's so cute and tiny. He's a tiny little dragon. Scott, what do you think of this revelation and the roar?
I just love Lockheed. This is something that I've been thinking about this the whole time I was reading this. Is like, again, not to get into like adaptations too much, but like all the X-Men movies were very interested in the like oppression metaphors, right? Things like that, which is totally like an important part of X-Men and what fans like appreciate about it. But so much of the X-Men for so long is just this bonkers, wild, like, yeah, there's this character who's a mutant, but she has a little tiny dragon, and there's this other one that was reborn in the belly of a space fish, and then another one of them like is the son of
I was gonna say I forgot I had my statue.
Awesome. That's
show
awesome
that earlier.
A little dragon or baby dragon.
But just Lockheed's just so cool as an X-Men character because he just has nothing to do with being a mutant, but it's just she wouldn't have been there if she hadn't have been a mutant. So it's still important to her.
It doesn't fit with the storyline logically at all.
Yeah, but it's just Lockheed's just cool. Little dragons are cool. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Justin, I know you're not super familiar with Lockheed. How is this reveal for you?
So I know of Lockheed, and I knew that Lockheed was coming up eventually. I will say I forgot that. Like I feel like I've seen it on like lists that say first appearance, like all those things at some point. But I literally forgot that this was the issue. So when I was going through this, this completely was like out of nowhere. So it was even more exciting to experience it the way I did, to read it and be like, oh, this is where Lockheed, like it just all clicked the minute I turned the page. So it was like extra special in that regard. I will say, I know we had mentioned, I think it was 153, the fairy tale episode
where she's telling the story.
Yeah, where she's telling
the story to Ilyana.
We do get like a hint of an idea of Lockheed, even though it's not anything official, and obviously it's within a dream. But I do remember we briefly touched on that as well, and just saying like there is a Lockheed that's coming down the road. But anyway, so totally forgot that this was the issue until I got to these pages, and I was very, very excited. Again, another kind of on your left moment, and to see him there, and he's not like this massive like Game of Thrones dragon.
Well, the first 4 panels or 5 panels, it's like it's the roar and the lighting and the yellow and
it's all these close-ups.
The brood are all getting torched, and she's like, oh my god! And then the next panel is like flap 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 flap.
Yeah, flap, little wings. He's got a little belly. like.
So great.
I really want a Lockheed Fing Fang Foom like one shot. I think that could be a cool.
You think they'd get along, or would it be dramatic?
I don't know. Let's have Art Adams do it though, because he's good at drawing critters.
Sign me up. Some comments in the chat here says, I need this issue. JB says Lockheed and Kitty are the best. I mean, I respect that.
It's fairly affordable. You can find
Figment has arrived. Rainbow.
Oh no, yeah. It's true. That's a good point.
And the next issue is Journey into the Imagination. William says Claremont chuckled when I got him to sign this issue, and he turned directly to this page. There you go.
Nice.
Love it. Gore says dragons were part of popular culture in the 80s, from The Last Dragons in the Epic magazine, Dragon Slayer the film, yes, and the popular, of course, Dungeons and Dragons game.
There's some Dungeons and Dragons ads in here that gave me some nostalgia feels too.
And for me, these 2 pages have some of the best lighting and like artwork with that color that we talked about.
Oh yeah,
just the way they underlight Lockheed in this first panel, the roar in the background are spelled out behind him, and then of course the blasts of light shining Kitty's face at different points. I love
silhouette
here.
Mm-hmm.
And then he is leading her and this one brood soldier who's like, I give up, like into this like bright room here.
Yeah.
And I'll continue on with us so we can see. The X-Men have all been captured. Cyclops is now one of the minions, but he's fighting it. He's like, I can't resist. I must resist. And he's blasting at some of the brood. Wolverine's like, I know what to do here. I'll take the hit. And he dives directly into the optic blast, gets blasted by it, and it sets him free. And then he's like, now what I'm going to do is punch the crap out of this guy. He just drops Cyclops.
Boom.
And then he starts like beating up these other guys. And he puts the claws to the queen brood. And he's like, drop your guns. Or I'm going to kill the queen brood. What are you going to do about it? And then, of course, they all drop their guns. And he's like, yeah, that's what I do. I take the hit and I just keep coming. Justin, this was a great role reversal, right?
Oh, big time. I loved everything about these panels here. I love the idea of Wolverine using purposely jumping in the way. It even explains how he does manage to survive it and just enough, to be able to live on. I love the look of him after he's like burnt to a crisp, essentially. Most of his clothes like, shredded, and then he just goes nuts and just completely, knocking the crap out of the alien Cyclops as we see here. And then, it's like a shotgun or like a handgun that, he's got to the Queen's head there. Cool way to kind of put those threats out there and start asking for or demanding things. But yeah, love these action scenes. I just love the idea of how Wolverine got free and everything.
So I remember reading this, Scott, and seeing Wolverine take that blast. I was like, whoa! Yeah. I was like, I don't know how you felt when you read this issue for the first time.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's like, shades of Days of Future Past, right? Of him kind of getting zapped. Like that. But yeah, it's pretty, he knows like his limits, right? That's him saying like, I know what I can take and I need to do this. I'm just going to put myself on the line. It's also like, it makes me think a lot about kind of the difference between like Logan and the Punisher. Like, I think the Punisher would have just dropped Scott. I mean, I guess it depends on who's writing the story at the time. But like the thing with Wolverine is like, he is a killing machine, but he was a killing machine for so long that now he's like kind of trying to like atone for that. And so even though he like despises Scott for all these reasons and knows now, obviously this isn't even barely Scott, but he kind of knows like this guy that is his friend deep down is still in there. And so he still restrains himself, even though he is totally just going to like turn that queen brood into like a stain on the floor when he gets a second.
Gore says he likes that this era of Wolverine didn't heal as much as he does today. He's somewhat more vulnerable as a result. That's a great point. That's a great point. You don't often see him battered as much as we do here. Moving on. Wolverine finds
this. I was gonna say this is the next ad break. If you want to just
let's do that.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't
jump you over here. We got another.
So this one was
commercial brought to you by
Marvel subscriptions.
Yeah,
which I want to point out, $6 for the first 2 12-issue subscriptions. $6 each, so 50 cents a copy. They were 60 cents a copy on the newsstand, so 50 cents a copy. And I just really liked this, Magneto, Doc Ock, and Dr. Doom singing Deck the
Halls with Marvel Comics.
Good.
Yeah, it's so good. Spidey coming down the this might be. Well, no, this is probably some other some.
There's Dr. John Doom. He's singing away.
There he is. It's you. The hat too. He's the only one that has the hat.
This is not going to get old. This is not going to get old.
And Doc Ock's holding the music. Yeah. So anyway. This another fun ad.
I love it. And upside down Spidey in the chimney. Yep. I love it. That's great. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
Sorry. Now I got to put this back on. There we go. So then next page is Wolverine is now seeing the same glowing light because now Kitty Pryde is coming out. She looks a little stoned, but she's like, yeah, guys, I found something. It's kind of crazy. They're like, what's going on? She seems okay. Colossus is happy that she's still alive. they're kind of holding the Brood Queen hostage, but she seems like she's going to eat them all at any point.
Yeah.
They've locked
Totally.
Cyclops up, not so much his eyes, so he could blast him at any moment. We're not going to worry about that. That is not important.
Yeah. They play fast and loose with what the eyes are doing.
Yeah,
A little bit
yeah.
here. Like, the logic of that.
They walk into the light. It turns out to be this giant crystal room, which is basically where the soul of this Akanti is sort of being kept. When the Brood walks in, instantly like black ooze spreads out from wherever she touches. It's almost like she's infecting the soul being in there. They're all like, what is happening? She uses this as a chance, and she totally sucker punches Wolverine in the back with her tail. Just like Vince McMahon. It's a cheap shot. Bernie is not okay with that. He is he's upset about all of this. So Scott, were you like, oh, this is gonna go down now?
Oh yeah, I would just like, man, they just can't catch a break. You know, you can't. And I mean, you know, you're trusting a giant bug. That's not going to get you very far.
No, not at all. JP, I'm sorry, but we're at 1 hour and 15 minutes for a double-sized issue, and we're near the end.
Yeah,
I don't need your shade right now. I don't need your shade. I will lock it. You need to lock it up.
This episode cost the same amount. It's not even more. It's not even the higher cover price.
It's double sized, and you're not appreciating. I'm just saying. Wolverine is such a great character in a team dynamic like this, more so to me than in his own series. This is William. You and I see eye to eye on Wolverine. I think he is best as a piece of the puzzle, not as the whole thing. And it's partly what I loved about Remender's Uncanny X-Force is the way they utilized him as a piece and not the focus. Even Jason Aaron's Wolverine in the X-Men did a good job of having him as the like tent pole, but at the same time, it was all the characters around him that made that book.
That was
work.
A fun series. I like.
Really great series. I'm almost done with it too, and I'm sad that it's ending, but happy that it's ending well for my money at least. 40 pages of goodness is right. So Justin, now that we're in the soul and we're seeing this crystal room and the oozy Brood, like, is this living up to your expectations of what like the soul of an Akanti would be?
Yeah, like I do wish maybe we saw a little bit more of the room, or I don't know. I guess if that's the room, I guess it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I was curious. One thing I want to say that with you pointed out the Cyclops being locked up or whatever. I'm gonna assume or guess that they had some sort of dampening sphere or something that took out the mutant powers. Because if you look at because otherwise Nightcrawler could have bamfed out of it. Okay, I'm just looking.
Oh, you're saying that the brace,
the brace,
the Brood was to trap the X-Men.
Yeah, the metal
might have. Okay,
it was dampening. Yeah, it was.
I like that answer. I because I thought for a second this was Justin trying to say. I didn't even notice that he didn't have anything covering his eyes.
No. Okay. But because the other thing was Colossus too, he's just in his regular human form when he is tied up.
But now that he's out of it, he can turn. You're saying maybe it was turned off. That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, and like I said, and the Nightcrawler could have just bamfed out of it too.
Right.
But it is funny to think otherwise. I mean, I'm only guessing here, theorizing with you guys, but that's my 2 cents.
No, that's a great theory.
The other thing here, we get the lightsaber appearance again, which I really about, so
Landra's only useful tool, and she never gets to use it.
She's a Jedi.
Yeah, she carries it around. And looks
first
awesome.
Jedi appearance in X-Men. That's why this book gets CGC'd, right?
Sorry, JP, I didn't understand that you were complimenting my speed, and that if this were on Justin's channel, you're saying we would still be on page 4.
I read that and I just kept laughing.
You just assume. Just assuming shade.
I get it.
Real Scott Wolverine relationship here.
I was going to move on. Anybody got any last thoughts here on this one?
No.
We good? All right.
Yeah.
So I like this next panel.
Yes,
This next panel makes me laugh. Wolverine gets totally sucker punched, and he's like, "No, I'm just going to cut your legs off. I'm going to cut this tail off. I'm done with you."
Yep.
And then he collapses after cutting that off. He's just like, "I don't know that I have much energy. I got blasted by Cyclops. Now I'm getting stabbed in the back by the Brood. I just don't have much left." And then he turns around and he sees this right next to Justin. The long, skinny panel is all the other X-Men team members are instantly at the same time all transforming. They're all getting like weird brood tentacles and stuff growing out of them. It's happening. They're all becoming brood. And Wolverine's like, all right, I gotta kill these guys. They're all done. And he wipes his mouth. He's like, I'm gonna go over and just pop every single one of you. It's been good. It's been real. But Binary flies through. She's like, my fiery afro and I are taking you out. We're flying away. She does this great little landing with him, sets him down. She's like, no. While you guys were down here fighting, Storm and I figured some things out. I got this. Don't worry. We don't have to kill them all. So twist upon twist upon twist here. Scott, what were your feelings on some of the, like, this is a roller coaster of drama here, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I also felt, how many pages were left. And I'm like, geez, they gotta wrap this up because it deep,
which is typical Claremont, right? We get to the end, we're like, there's a lot of story left here, right?
It's like there's been a lot of story, but you've really set yourself up. And then seeing Carol come in, swoop down, grab Wolverine like that. Also, this has nothing to do with the comic, but Wolverine making the sausage there at the bottom, that GIF. I definitely, as a kid, like watched that show, and I tried to make a sandwich like that, kind of like that, where like it's
three knives in between your fingers.
Well, no, but it's the salami. It's that salami that you get that you put on like for you have a nice party and you put it out. And so I like cut like 3 pieces of it like that, that thick, which is like that's too thick for a sandwich.
That's a lot of chewing, yeah.
And I think like at the time I thought it was great, but I would never eat that much salty meat at once. I think it just reminded me. It took me back.
FYI, what they do in a cartoon doesn't necessarily mean that's something you can do in real life, right?
I never tried to jump off my house like I was Superman or like climb a wall, but I did try to make
throw an anvil at Wolverine. Drop anvils on people. None of that.
But I did try to make the sandwich Wolverine made in that one episode of the X-Men.
William says Ric Flair dropped by Wolverine right here, where he just flops. There you go. And Magic Lasso says there's a Wonder Woman. Yeah, I had to pick 2 times when Wonder Woman had to carry a dude, much like Binary's carrying a dude, and they're just both one where the guy likes it and one where Batman's like, no, I'm not. Don't care.
Yeah, please no.
Justin, any thoughts here on this dramatic roller coaster sequence?
I mean, I just like the Wolverine stuff right on the next to where you're at, John. Him slicing off
it's like the tail, I guess.
Tail, or like the stingers or the claw. I don't know what.
Sure, why not?
I thought it was like her teeth. I thought it was like her teeth.
Because if you look at
no, it's not her teeth. It's like the stingers. Yeah.
Because if you look at that, the far panel that's got a pink background over there, she's like bleeding green out of her butt or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Oh no, yeah.
It looks like her tail.
Stingers.
So it's like a tail. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All that butt stuff.
Oh, that's right. Because they have big like scorpion double things.
I took it as a tail.
Yeah, that's her tail.
There's no sandwich here, Justin. JP, no, Jason, go on. No sandwich.
Only took us an hour and a half to get to butt stuff.
Yeah.
For me.
I like the detail in how banged up Wolverine is too. Just as they get the close up of the face.
To here. Gore's point, right? The idea that he doesn't heal instantly like he may do more often now.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. All right, moving on. Yeah. Binary explains the power of the spirit of the Akanti, and she basically connects the soul of the Akanti here to the one that the Storm is using, the baby up in outer space, and sets the soul free, connecting it back to creating a new leader to the Akanti. And of course, this takes a lot of energy out of her. I love the panel with the like pink and purple like energy flowing off of her, and she goes to Wolverine. She's like, "Don't worry. I think this. It's hard work. I think I did it. I think we're okay now." Was this resolution for me? This resolution works, but Justin, did this feel like it was too easy, too quick, too fast for you? How are you feeling about this?
No, I think it works. I mean, this is part. I'm still like learning. I mean, I didn't know. I don't know much about Binary, or I guess as a reader, even in this point, you still don't know.
Nobody does. I mean, you've read details. At this point, you've read every issue with Binary up to this point.
Yeah,
that Binary was ever going to be in.
Yeah. So I guess in that regard, it's just like, oh, okay, like she essentially became or gave that star energy, or to be able to make this connection between the two. So, I mean, it's cool. I really don't know any other way it really could have been, solved or
Right.
resolved, and especially in the, as Scott pointed out, like, coming up towards the end of this, only having so many pages left, like there has to be something significant that hits. So yeah, I dig it. I'm down with how this went down.
Scott, there's a lot of great background artwork on these pages
yeah.
for me. This is where, I mean, I do think Paul Smith nails the outer space sort of like look of things. How are you feeling about these pages?
Oh yeah, and I think the whole time reading through this, I just feel like he seems to really enjoy drawing the Akanti and the Brood. Not that, like, it's not that he's like phoning it in with the X-Men, but it's just like it seems that he gives it a little extra. There's a little extra on those creatures, and even like when Lockheed shows up, it's like, oh, you got to draw not just the person in spandex, and I get to draw dragon. And to Core's point, the disheveled hair, like Paul Smith, that's something I really like about Paul Smith, is it's a little more naturalistic than some of the X-Men artists of the era, and I really like that. It's not like hyper real, but it's like that kind of nice cartoon realism that works really well.
Well, I also think all through these last few issues, we're getting some great binary hair on every level for her.
Yep.
Whether it's like it's just popped up, it's like that static electricity look, or like this, where it's actually somewhat normal.
Yeah.
So the reveal is nobody's brooding anymore. Everybody's okay, and they've crystallized the Brood Queen. She is all crystal now, and you guys better be careful. This place is gonna blow up. We better teleport to the Starjammers because this is all going down. Let's get the heck out of here. So quick resolution here. Scott, how are you feeling about like this finale?
You love the Crystal Brood again. Like Paul Smith is like, I got this. I'll draw some people. I'm gonna spend the rest of my day on this Crystal Brood.
Yeah, I thought about that.
And just like. And then, I don't know if he like got on the phone with Wyachek and it's like, okay, the way that this needs to like, the way you need to lay the inks down on this is like this, so that it's like shine, or, if they were just symbiotic, like understood each other. And even the coloring of it,
Brood, like the blues and pinks and yellows, all reflecting in the crystal. So cool.
Yeah, because it's reflecting what's around it, right? Which is like so like make their costumes maybe are part of that blue and yellow. Oh yeah, super cool.
Yep,
good stuff.
Justin, all on a black background too.
I was gonna say the crystal pops with the black background, right, Justin?
Yeah. No, this is cool. One thing to point out too is that we still get the mentioning of the dragon that Kitty Pryde is kind of trying to bring up.
Anybody see a dragon around?
Yeah. But I like that. Kind of leaves you hanging. Like, okay, it wasn't a dream. Definitely something there, and she's wondering where that was. So I was curious if we were going to get to see more. Of Lockheed now, but
right,
like 2 more issues, he comes back.
It's a little while before we get him again.
Okay,
it did make me think a lot about healing crystals. I don't know.
What's funny is I didn't add this, but right after this page was an ad for the Dark Crystal. There's no way that was planned. But
no, that was just pure golden symmetry. So final pages, the X-Men are back aboard the Starjammers ship. Dad and son reunited. Storm is back to normal again. She has been healed now that the Akanti have their new spirit leader. She has been able to separate back to herself. She's all good again. Everybody's great. And then Wolverine says, by the way, I think Professor X has a brood in him.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, what?
Dun, dun, dun.
What? Huh? You didn't tell us that. Sleepy Reader arrived just for the dramatic end.
Hey.
Yeah, Professor X has a brood in him.
Yeah.
Shocking twist, Justin. How are you feeling at the end of that revelation?
Yeah, I hate when that happens. Hey, we get Sikorsky back, right? Did I say that right?
Yeah, the robot Sikorsky taking care of poor Wolverine and Cyclops.
Because he's a little helicopter.
Yeah.
He looks like a dragonfly to me.
Yeah.
I just love all the backwards talking and as you guys are talking about, just in the times, obviously Yoda being around and being discussed, and very cheesy little character, but I like him. Yeah, I mean, and we get Storm back as normal. I was kind of wondering, how they were gonna pick that back up after all the craziness that's gone on. I do like the panel on the far side of again seeing the group. You guys pointed out more so than I realized there are a lot of really great group shots here all around. So even to kind of end it, right before the bad news comes, it's nice to see the team kind of together there, happy for a moment. And then we get close out the ending. I like all how they're banged up. I mean, I just like the bruises, the cool. The wrap up on Wolverine's eye there. Yeah, kind of a pirate.
The first appearance of Patch, Wolverine with the eye patch.
Oh yeah,
there you go. Yeah, totally. There you go.
True first. Scott, any thoughts on the wrap up here at the end?
No, I mean it definitely was like Deus Ex Machina on top of Deus Ex Machina, but they definitely they planted the seeds for all the resolutions. So I think
thought so. Yeah.
Well. Yeah. The only problem I have is, and I'm pretty sure he was in the Starjammers still at the time, but forgive me if I'm saying this incorrectly, but I believe it's pronounced Chode. Where is he? Where's Chode?
Everybody needs their Chode, and we don't see him.
Where's Chode? Where's he? I see Hepzibah. I see Sikorsky. Where's Chode? And also, where's Raza? Is it Raza?
Yeah, the sword fighting guy.
The sword guy. He was. I think we see the back of his head at one point, don't we, or something earlier in this issue?
Yes, I think. Yeah, he was on the ship, or during the ship
when they first show up to rescue everybody.
Yeah. It was like a side shot, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But yeah, no Chode.
That'd be my only note as the editor. Like, you get Chode and Raza, like, get them in there too.
Yeah, that group shot's a little vacant. We need to fit a couple more. Get a couple more people in there.
I like to think that Paul just kind of forgot they were on the team. It was just like, I'm tired. I got to get this done. There's
too many people in this drawing.
It's late. Yeah.
I'm not even going to do a background. You get yellow. That's all you get. So let's dive into some of the numbers here before we wrap this all up. I put the issue 129 cover there so you can kind of see similar stuff with Colossus holding a reddish orange character above his head. A lot of red and orange characters all around getting beat up with the X-Men fighting. So some similarities, I suppose, with issue 129's cover. Like we mentioned, this is the first appearance of the dragon later named Lockheed, which will happen in issue 168. This is the death of the Brood Queen and the first official cover done by Paul Smith for the X-Men. So that's pretty badass.
Yeah,
man. That was the other thing. Speaking of Paul Smith, you've set me on a path of trying to get all the Paul Smith X-Men now.
Well, if a single issue were going to do that, it would be this one. I think this is the previous issue, which is his first art on the X-Men, was very uneven. I was commenting that I felt like he was thrown into that book and had to quickly do it before a deadline, and then only had time to really spend on this issue. That's how I took it, at least. There are no 9.9s, no 10.0s, but there are 365 9.8s, fair market value of about $170. It drops by more than half for a 9.6 down to $60, and there's about 266 of those. So we'll something to something there. Definitely a book worth $170 in a 9.8 for sure, if you can find that. And then I think that was it. So let me stop sharing and let's go back around. Justin, what's your grade for this issue? What are your final thoughts on issue 166?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that this really buttoned up a lot of the questions, especially with the Uncanny and some of the other ways of how the Brood work. Nicely over the course of these 5 or 6 issues that we've been reading. This is definitely a longer saga than I thought it was going to be going into it. I know I think it was Chaos and Comics that mentioned that this is a bit of a longer saga than maybe what one might expect, but I really enjoyed it. I think that this ended things really well, or at least buttoned things up. I know that there's still other things to come, but obviously this issue particularly introducing Lockheed is huge. I think there are a lot of big moments where I keep saying the on your left reference, but I love those types of moments. And so, anytime we get more of that coming from the X-Men or X-Men books, then I'm down. The artwork definitely, much better than the first issue your last issue, I guess. I know there were definitely some moments there that we kind of questioned a little bit, had its ups and had its downs, but this one definitely especially with that double, not splash page, but the thread. Yeah, like that all was just epic. Binary looked awesome, throughout. All the characters looked awesome throughout. So yeah, coloring and everything else was just killer. So for me, I would say this is going to go up into a closer to like a 9 to a 9.2 if I had to put a grade on it. Definitely up there in the low 9s for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hello to Bobby De La Ghetto. Good to see you, Bobby. I don't remember saying hi to you earlier. If I did, then you get a double hi.
That's a good point. They were guarding the ship, talking about Chode and Rosin.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Somebody's got to pilot the ship. Yeah. While
Yeah.
everybody else is having a beer,
That's true.
Somebody needs to pilot the ship.
Yeah.
Kyle, the promiscuous time traveler, is here. What is going on? It does not necessarily come with double the advertisements, but we have been able to check some of them out thanks to Scott here.
Yeah, there was quite a few.
Great to see Scott on YouTube rather than in person. So much more real this way.
Yeah, I smell better this
Damien. And I also agree, Damien. I'm going to start calling Magic Lasso the mystical rope dude. I think that's a great name for him. I appreciate that very much. What about you, Scott? How would you grade this issue overall?
Yeah, I mean, also low 9s. It's a, like I kind of mentioned, going through it. It's a great example of, like you say, this is a long saga. You guys have been going on this saga for a minute, but like you could just read that issue. Really, like if someone just read it, you might be confused about some things, but like you got to kind of just go with it. Mm-hmm. And it's definitely a great example of like, people are always like, where to start? It's like, just start with that one. Why not? Just read it. If you think it's fun, don't worry too much about grokking everything. Like it's not all going to make sense, but
just go with it.
Just go with it. But I mean, it looks awesome. It was a fun story. Yeah. So definitely like, 9 point. I'd give it a, just again, because I like Paul Smith so much. I mean, it's probably like a 3, 4, maybe 9.5 for me. Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm going to go above I'm going to go 9.6 with this. I absolutely love this issue.
All right.
Artwork wise, this is an easy home run. Way over the fence.
Yeah.
Story wise, it's got some of the common issues that you might have from a Claremont issue, but I think he nails this finale to this storyline beautifully. I think there's a lot of great wrap up. There is an exposition dump or two, but even those are done beautifully with these amazing panels with Storm's, profile or with these really great outer space sequences. For me, this works completely. JP going above me with the 9.8 because Cyclops gets punched in the face. I respect that. Right. Adam makes stuff up. How you doing, Adam? Good to see you. So for me, this is a 9.6. I really do love this issue, and I'm so happy to see how well it's held up. That going back and reading it now, I read it in the Omni first, and then I read it digitally, and then I made the slideshow. And I enjoyed it more each time, getting into all the little nitty gritties, whether it was like a crystallized brood or whether it was binary just laying waste. All of it was good. All of it was good.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So that wraps it up, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. Now we get on to the trivia and the silliness and the shenanigans, and it's your time to join the show. So every single episode of the Omni X-Men, including the one next week over on Justin's channel, so subscribe over there. Everyone ends with 4 trivia questions about the previous issue and the previous episode. And you don't even need to have watched it. Sometimes you can guess and get a correct answer. Sometimes you can just say something funny and get a point. Sometimes you can copy and paste somebody else's correct answer because we want 2 correct answers and we want the funniest one. So we give away a lot of raffle ticket entries. As you can see, I'm keeping a little grid here for everybody. And then when we get to our final episode, or I should say the one after the final issue of the omnibus, we're going to randomize all these names and start giving away a bunch of cool things. So you just need to hang around or show up for the end of the show and answer a bunch of questions. We got 4 questions for you. We're looking for the 2 correct answers, and then you got to make Scott laugh for that comedy one. He's going to pick his favorite comedy answer. Justin, you got your first question ready?
Yeah. So my first question is, Moira delivered a letter from Reed Richards to Professor X mentioning what mutant name? There was a newer mutant that was mentioned.
So give us a fun mutant name. If you want to just make Scott laugh with a really great mutant name, this is your opportunity. Good luck, folks.
Let's see some creativity here. And we are looking for the mutant's name. or because technically the name
You got to spell the name correctly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone needs to write that one more time, and then someone needs to write chameleon in the chat.
So the
And you might
correct
have a
answer is
shot.
already in there twice. Am I right? Am I right?
Yeah,
here?
I have Chet and Ryan.
And Chet and Ryan, I got 2 correct answers. So now
First
give us
2.
some funny mutant names.
Hang on. Let me make sure that Chet spelled that right. Oh yeah, he did. Okay.
Yes,
John
John Doom. Shop for Comics made this for me, and it's gonna be in my overlay for everything now. Yeah, I can just like flash it. Yeah. Be ready for that. Okay, so yeah, John Doom. There you go. There's a great name for a mutant. Somebody's got to contest JP. Somebody's got to have a better funny name for a mutant out there. Or are we just giving this point to JP, or give it to Shop for Comics for an amazing drawing? Michael Jackson.
It's the right era. We just fresh off a Thriller, right?
He's not
Wait,
appreciating you. He's not appreciating you.
Is that a mutant name?
That's a long mutant name there, Chad.
It is a really intense one. Yeah.
It's like the Morrison era name.
First name, last name, middle name, extra middle name, nickname.
Speaking of Morrison era, Johnny picked up some great keys today. What in the world?
I mean, I can't. Trust me, it's not hometown bias, but that probably made me laugh the most.
And Captain EO, another Michael Jackson reference.
That's pretty good too. Yeah, those are pretty good.
Almighty. This is what we're here for, folks. This is what we're here for.
Yeah.
JP says Chad. Chad is the correct answer. William
Is
says
he a mutant though?
Since we're talking about Claremont being a normal person, would it be strange? So I'm going to go with say normal.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's a head scratcher.
Bobby says Candace. Candace is the name of the mutant.
That's Candace Station. John.
There it is.
That's the full name.
Scott, do you have one that's the winner? What do you got?
Oh man, yeah. Well, Sex Farmer and Captain EO for different reasons are both pretty great.
You got to pick one.
Oh, I got to pick one. Let's go with Sex Farmer because that's just
all right. Sleepy Reader Damien.
Again, there's no collusion happening. I promise. There's no collusion.
We got Scott to LOL on that one, so that
we did.
Yeah,
it was a definite laugh.
I was out of my
Okay. During that same sequence, when Moira is talking to Professor X, he says he will not teach any more mutants anymore. He's done. Moira says, okay, well then I got alternatives of people who could be teachers for mutants, and she names somebody or she lists 2, but I only need one. What is one of the people that Moira suggests as a alternative teacher to up and coming mutants? Who
this is a good scene.
Yeah, who would be an alternative teacher? Professor X is busy. Who would be an alternative?
I like how she kind of flipped it on him.
Boom, boom.
Right.
Got some people.
I got correct answers for sure, but let's get into some comedy here in a second. First correct answer is JP. She says Magneto, and she also says Emma Frost or her Hellfire Club. So those are 2 of the correct answers. But then Bobby says the Blob. He's known for his knowledge, known for his skills in teaching.
I don't know if anybody's seen that like 1985, 84 Pride of the X-Men pilot. And I'm sure you guys have seen it, but
I don't think
the cartoon. The cartoon. Oh, you haven't seen it? Oh, you gotta dig. It's on YouTube. You can find it. It's like before the animated series from the 90s. There was in the I think mid to late 80s maybe they made another pilot. It's very like it feels like G.I. Joe type animation. Like it's and it's got like a cool theme song, but it's a different theme song, and it has Blob in it, and his voice in it is what I hear when Bobby says
when you
the
see
Blob.
Bobby's answer.
I'm seeing him. The Blob, like he talks like that. Like I am the Blob. Yeah. Check it out. You can find it. Pride of the X-Men. So
Gore says Christopher Walken or just Chris. If you know him, it's just Chris.
Yeah. It's just Chris.
Adam says Juggernaut would be a good teacher. Simple Simon's in the chat. What's going on, Simon? Good to see you, sir.
I'm in.
Admittedly, Magic Lasso's going with Diana Ross. Chet says Helen Keller. I don't think that's
the Miracle Worker
goes. I think the Miracle Worker was the teacher, not Helen.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she's the
the Nutty Professor.
Oh boy,
the Clumps, really? All right.
It's another voice.
Bobby says Simon, but no, I think he's staying station.
Oh, okay.
E.T. the extraterrestrial.
A band, yes.
Yeah, it could have been the band. Yes, my bad. Could have been.
Okay, pretty good.
Magneto Blob. I don't know how that works. Lord Byron and Shelley.
It's kind of what that
deep.
Emma Frost and Sebastian Shaw's whole deal. It's kind of like
right.
That whole...
Yeah, John Doom is a great great answer. Absolutely great answer. And we got Pei Mei or Pai Mei. Yes, the exploding heart technique.
Yes.
All right. Any other ones I'm missing? Did I skip your best answer? Chet. The spelling will be stellar. Is that it? You picked Chet as the teacher. I think that was it. All right. Did you have one, Scott?
I do like Bobby's either John Doom or the Blob. I think
so. Either one would work for Bobby. Bobby gets the point. Where you got Bobby? There you go. 8th point for Bobby. All right, Justin. Time for your second question.
All right. Second question for me is, what was Nightcrawler doing when Wolverine walked by his room in last issue? Last issue, he was just taking a stroll down the hallway. He happened to look into Nightcrawler's room and noticed that Nightcrawler was doing something. What was Kurt doing there in his room as Wolverine walked by?
I will say,
you get some interesting.
Old Wolf 65 can't be here tonight, and he said he hopes that Chet doesn't run the board on him so that he loses his first place slot. You're getting the board run on you tonight.
He already lost.
Sorry, that's happening because here's the correct answers. We got praying.
Yes,
and we got praying again. So
correct.
Chet and Ryan coming in strong. JP says private time. Not
next time.
Lasso says he's getting some tail. I like the quotes.
It's pretty good.
I'm imagining air quotes when you read that out loud. I mean he was praying. That's not a joke. He was legit. He was actually praying. Censored. Just censored. He was waxing his tail. That's what elves call it.
Is his tail furry?
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look furry.
Is it like a rat tail with a pointy?
I've never gotten close enough.
Because it's prehensile. Yeah, I know, right? It's hard. It's so hard to. He's a real germaphobe. He doesn't want to go near his fans.
Tanda says getting some quality alone time.
There you go.
All right, Scott. Any of these working for you?
Oh man, I mean, the getting some tail is pretty. I know that Magic Lasso already got. Getting some tail. You can
double up. That's how it works.
Definitely double up. Yep.
All right, so let me find Lasso. There he is. That's number 15 for you, Ryan. Congrats. Good to see you, sir.
Nice.
Last question of the night. We mentioned that Carol Danvers left our heroes in kind of a perilous place when she blasted through the hull of the ship and flew off to get her revenge. What was the X-Men's solution to avoid being sucked into the void of space? How did they solve this incredibly challenging moment? What did they do? JP says I was reading all the exposition I wrote for this.
That's
issue.
Pretty good. Yeah,
that's what Nightcrawler was doing. He's just reading it. It was busy. It was a busy time. Yeah. So how did the X-Men combat this? Yes, they use Colossus. They plug up the hole with the big Russian guy.
That is correct.
That's not a joke.
You would.
Colossus as a whole plug. Plug the with Colossus. This is Justin's favorite part of our show now. Is watching people struggle to sell things quickly. So we got Magic Lasso and Chet coming in strong, coming in hot. Yeah, throw the big metal dude at it. It's exactly what you do with an injured hull to your ship in the void of space. Throw something big, heavy, and metal at it.
That's what I would do. I mean, if you had one.
They did cut a perfect. This was the alternate answer that I would have accepted: is cutting a perfectly shaped piece of metal and throwing it at the hole. Also correct. Correct. Ryan says they synchronized a dance to the Supreme song "Love Child." I mean, Yeah, that's the solution.
I was actually laughing at Candace's, but we don't.
She says
know.
We don't know. The next panel, they're fine.
That's true. I thought that was good.
That's all. You don't need to read
We
those
didn't
panels.
really. That's the start late, finish early thing in the panel. They're like, well, you got a hole. Yeah, we fixed it. Well,
It's done.
we don't need this.
Better
the
now.
gutter. Who knows what happened in there? But
All good now. We're all good now.
Next.
yeah,
Wolverines. I think JP got a little excited.
What?
He hit the send, didn't finish his sentence. See, look at him.
Wolverine.
This is his favorite part of the show now.
Yeah.
Justin's dying. Just watching the spelling.
I don't know if I want the rest of that sentence.
Yeah, right.
Wolverines. It's Wolverines. Hair. Sandwich is the next
The
word.
sandwich. Oh yeah,
The old
Sandwich.
That was good,
delayed.
probably.
Yeah, everybody
Chopped
gets a
up
sandwich,
three
and then
pieces,
we'll
you just
figure
kept
it out.
Yeah,
chopping
yeah.
that
You
salami.
use the
And it's
Oh, there you go. Yeah, slice the meat, the big chunk of the Scott's talking about, the real thick piece of
Slice it.
salami.
Under that-
Throw that.
with the vacuum, like going like the compression of all the fat would
Right.
really make it solid in there.
And it would freeze rock hard in the vacuum of space, right?
Yeah, exactly. No,
you
yeah,
go.
exactly. Frozen meat is probably pretty durable.
I like
All
when
right, Scott, do
when
we have a
Scott
correct
first-
answer? I think we really just have
Yeah.
one.
And I'll go with Candace's because
There
that
it
did
is.
make me
Nice,
laugh.
nice.
Like I was really that was
Candace.
good.
Candace is at 11 total
Nice.
entries
Oh, nice.
into our giveaway.
Nice.
And that wraps it up, folks. That is it for the night. We're still under 2 hours.
Pretty good.
The YouTube and Instagram links for these gentlemen are right down below. Scott, huge thank you for joining us, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is
Seriously.
great. It's so fun.
Glad to have
Yeah.
you, Scott.
And
Fun
I'm
homework,
glad
the
it was
funnest homework I've ever done.
that it was so much fun that it wasn't like a painstaking issue of some kind.
That was great.
Yeah.
And Justin, we're over on your channel next week, issue 169, and I've already forgotten who the guest is.
167.
Is it 7? 7.
Well, we're
Sorry.
on 166 right now.
Yeah, there you go.
You said that in the beginning. I'm like, did he say
I
nine?
did. Yeah, that was my bad. Oh yeah, we got DJ Lynx joining us. We got
Yeah.
Lynx himself. Yeah,
Yeah.
there it is.
That's it.
Cyclops is carrying the pregnant Professor
What
X right
happened?
there on the cover.
What happened?
You can see
Yeah.
the slight bulge in the
It's-
belly
This is what Junior was based on. That movie Junior.
with Arnold Schwarzenegger and
Yeah,
Danny
with-
DeVito. Great
He
movie.
said the thing that's harder to believe is that he was a doctor, not that he was pregnant. No offense, to Arnie. Just saying.
So you guys need to be following the links down below. Get over there so that when we go over to Justin's channel next Tuesday, you are in the chat and ready to go and answer questions about the book we read this week and hanging out with Scott.
That's right.
Thanks, everybody. I'm going to get us out of here so that we're under 2 hours and JP can go to bed at a normal time. So thanks, everybody, for coming, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.